Once the species become domesticated, it excel in its field, in their fields. For instance, dog and cat, what's their field? Their field is to be our pet, is companion. Therefore, they become more intelligent and they acquire manners. But what's the field of chicken? I didn't mean that chicken become intelligent as dog when become domesticated. Its field is not a companion. Its field is to produce. Therefore, once it becomes domesticated, it produces much more egg than its wild counterpart. Very comfortable. And what's the field of horses and donkeys? Their field is not to produce nor to be our companion. Their field is because they cannot produce egg and milk. Their field is to work. Therefore, once they become domesticated, they work harder than their wild counterpart, which does not work at all. And then you say, how about us when we become domesticated? How it works? And it works exactly the same way. It's just we are diverse. The animals are not diverse. We have diversity. Some of us, our field is mathematics and science because they are more intelligent than average. So once we become domesticated, we dominate those fields. That's why Chinese totally dominated mathematics and science. Some of the universities in America, all of the students, 100% without exception, all the students are Chinese in those fields, mathematics and science, which require intelligence. It comes to a point that the university had to introduce a quota to limit their numbers, and they brought in an inferior student of other races just to maintain diversity. Otherwise, they have to change the name of mathematics and physics into the Chinese science because it's theirs and nobody else's. And but not all the Chinese mathematics and science are their field. Some of them, it's a physical labor. They're laborer. To do labor is their field, and so they excel. And also they excel in that field. Historically, in the construction of Panama Canal, it was in 1850, and slavery was abolished. They had the Indians, the natives, and they paid them salary to work, but they refused to work. They refused to work at all. And they had the freed slaves, which is blacks, and they were working, but they must have been not satisfied with their productivity to bring Chinese by steamship. It was 80. Now with a modern vessel, it takes a month. So back then it would take months with a steam ship to bring them from China across the Pacific. And sure enough, they totally outperformed the blacks. Even though these blacks were West Africans, they brought from West Africa, which known for their physical strength. They are well built and muscular, compared to scrawny Chinese, which much smaller and weaker and smaller than them, less fit. They were less fit for the job. Even though they were less fit, they totally outperformed the blacks. And they work not only, you are talking about hard labor, shoveling all day and carrying heavy loads. Not only did they outperform the blacks, they also worked longer hours. They could put a shovel in the ground and just lay on the stick and fall asleep, only to wake up and continue work, which they do till now. If you there's clips on their equivalent of YouTube, they're falling asleep in the public transport while laying on the pole or in strange positions, and only to wake up and start working again. And in Japan, they kill themselves out of overwork, which they don't need. It's not because of financial reasons, because Japan is rich. So if you say how is possible, I mean, how can they take it? How can they stand the pain and suffering? During the time of construction of Panama Canal, many Chinese they kill themselves out of overwork. They just work themselves to death. They totally dominate the field of the labor. Same way they dominate the field of intelligence like physics and mathematics. So all fields want to become domesticated, you just dominate all fields without exception. And there's examples abound. And there's no, you say they suffer? No, there's no suffering. If you're born in prison, you suffer? No. Prison become your home and outside becomes sufferable. Outside is become like frightening. And a parrot that borns in a cage, it does not suffer, because once it grow up, you open the cage, it will not fly away, just walk around and go back inside. That means he likes it. And there's a clip that a cow go to a farm to find a yoke, which weighs, it's very heavy, right? The yoke is the harness that they put around the neck, and put it around his neck, and waiting for a human to come so he can plow the land. To plowing the land for him, he's eager to do it, and it's like an exercise for him. That's what it looks like. Therefore, nothing more enjoyable than completing your program. And if you don't, once the program complete, you feel, oh, well done, and then you get the joy. But if until it's done, and if the program is not done, and then you feel something wrong, and you feel the urges keep pressuring you, and you feel bad. So it's other way around. It's not a complete program. It's more painful than the pain of labor and the others. BBC did a documentary. It's called "Are Our Kids Tough Enough?" Just Google those words and come up. They saw Chinese students are so far ahead of theirs. So they try to implement their education system by bringing Chinese teachers at a high school level, but they end up in tears. The students start crying. But why they are crying? Because they were not physically punished, which is permissible in the East, where I come from. In the West, the student cannot be physically punished, therefore their soul was crying. It's not like they've been beaten and unconscious. If you get beaten, the soul not involved, you automatically scream and shed tears. And these were not little kids that were crying, these are grown-ups. The high school almost grown up. Therefore, and that which means their soul already developed, and their soul was crying. They're not in physical pain. And why their Chinese counterpart not crying? Because the soul is not present, and it's the soul that's crying. Therefore, no, they're not suffering. But we are suffering. If you want to have their system, we cannot. Another example was two workers from Iran. They work in a factory assembly line, and they cannot stand the pressure, the speed, and monotony of the assembly line. And they cannot slow down, because it's assembly line, everybody knows who's holding the line up, where the hold up is, and if they get dirty looks. So they sabotage the machine, and the assembly line shut down for them to go to grab an ice cream and enjoy the moment. Only to see all the workers are shedding tears, they are crying, and then they panic. That, oh my God, how about they found we caused so much damage and so much suffering to everybody to make them cry, maybe to put us in prison. But only in a few minutes they brought a technician, and it was back to before, back to normal. So why they can take it and why this guy cannot take it? Because the spirit cannot take monotony. It's not a robot. Yeah, Japan have a labor shortage, and soon China maybe already have a labor shortage, but they cannot import it because they cannot work like them, which they expect to. And that's why Japan is stunted. Japan growth has stunted because of shortage because of aging, and China will the same thing happen. And nobody can work like them. It's not possible for us. I mean. Another example was I had we stop here, different subject.